Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt once again with another installment of Asteroids. So today we're looking at the fates. So I'm going to start off with the fates. And before I begin, as always, I want to point out that my major source of resource is my teacher, Martha Lang Westcott, who can be located at marthalangwestcott.com. And also today's episode, I took some of today's asteroids actually came out of another book of hers called The Orders of Light. So yeah, The Orders of Light. I have it right there. So that's another reference book for the asteroids. So here we go. Let's begin our journey. So today we're going to look at the fates, and all of the fates, and they are 4 of them. You have Atropos, you have hubris, you have Klotho, and you have Lachesis. If I'm saying all of these things correctly, if I'm not, I already apologize. Once again, if you want to see what these glyphs look like, you can find them at my website, divinationcounselingservice.org, where every day that I do one of these video clips, I also do a piece, if you will, a written piece that I put then in my website with the logos, or the glyphs to match. Okay, so today we're starting with our fates, and the fates, of course, are based, again, in mythology. So we're looking at Atropos, which is, Atropos is like, you would think of that as, an A. I know when I first was getting into this years ago, I thought that was really funny, that the fate that is the hourglass slash in the middle, in the waist, A, is actually endings. Okay, and so Atropos deals with endings, what happens after. It's people that need completion, that something needs to be ended or finished. It would be Atropos. And also think of this, in the bigger picture of things in life too, because there are things that we do in life that eventually have to end. Sometimes we're grateful that they're ending, and then there's other times where we don't really want that phase of our life to end. So moving on from Atropos, we're going to hit hubris. And hubris is exactly what hubris is, fate. It's fated. It's how we're limited sometimes by fate. If, fate's intervening in our life can definitely have an effect on us, and that in and of itself can be somewhat limiting. So our fate, our destiny, is hubris. Again, it's an hourglass. This particular hourglass only has the slice at the waist. There are no letters for hubris. After hubris, we're going to move on to Klotho. Klotho is our hourglass slash in the waist with a K. And our K, our Klothos, is beginnings. It's what happened, pre-existing fate. In the beginning, our beginnings. And again, our beginnings often affect even how we might proceed with something. Our beginnings of our childhood, how we started out in life, oftentimes totally affects how we proceed, end up. Atropos, how do we get to the end? How are we hubris? Well, all of that goes together, and Klotho then is beginnings, the beginning. Then we have Leticia, and I read something really interesting in Martha's book today about Leticia, and that is that it's the middle of the hourglass. It's when the amount of grains of sand are the same on the top and the bottom. And so in the process of things, there can be disruptions and interruptions, and sometimes even disruptions that will change course, okay? And that then becomes Leticia. So that's the fate, the fates, okay? So fate itself, being hubris, can be interrupted by Leticia. All fate situations have beginnings, and all situations then have endings. So that's our 4 fates. The other 4 asteroids I want to do today are also asteroids where I'm looking at 2 of them that mean the same thing, okay? So we have a lot of that, if you have Hera and you have Juno, they mean the same thing. You can interchange them. There isn't really a huge difference between them in energies. If someone is very Juno in their life, they can also be very Hera. I've actually known several people in my life that have Hera or Juno conjuncting the sun, and they're basically the same way in terms of how they go about life and the importance of partnerships and the importance of being a partner. Okay, so in this case, we're going to be looking at Persephone and Proserpina, and I'm hoping that I'm saying those right. I'm not the best at the vocabulary, okay? But I can tell you that each of them are Persephone is, of course, the story of Persephone, where she leaves her mother Ceres, or is that one Demeter? I'm not sure. But see, this is where it gets confusing, because Ceres and Demeter are interchangeable. So are Proserpina and Persephone, which are the daughter. So the daughter leaves, goes away to the underworld for half a year. So those asteroids are associated with journeys. They are associated with personal journeys, journeys that you can only go on alone, that you can't go on with somebody else. A lot of times the internal journeys that we go on throughout life can be seen through astrology as Persephone, Proserpina. So Proserpina and they look the same in the asteroids. Just like with the fates, they have their subtle differences. So in this case, we're looking at a circle, a small circle with a line coming out of it. Not a straight line, more of a sway. And in the case of Persephone, she's normally with no arms. Okay, Proserpina, for some reason, she has arms. So underneath the circle, there's like another half circle. And the next set, again, I'm doing the same thing, with Shiva and Shiva. Okay, and Shiva and Shiva are, again, essentially the same. Okay, they both can interact the same way in a chart. You know, I just recently did a lunar return of somebody who's actually going away. Okay, so in the case of Shiva and Shiva, there is this concept of withdrawing. Okay, you're going away. I can tell people when they're going to have time off from work. Shiva, they show up. Usually then in that case, they could show up at the midheaven if I'm doing a lunar return. So in this case, I saw this Shiva and Shiva all over the place, okay? So they showed up like almost every which way they can, because it is, again, talking about how this person is going away, which they really are. Okay, so it talks about withdrawal. It talks about this going away, separations. Now, there's a little bit more to it. Now, this is not to say when I'm doing a lunar return that this would be an absolute. Sometimes it is, and I like to let the client be aware. But Shiva and Shiva are also associated with destruction. Okay, particularly that kind of destruction that has to happen in order for the rebuilding to take place. So it has somewhat of a Pluto energy to it. So just keep that word Pluto in mind, because that's also based in the glyph of Pluto. So we have this Pluto energy working here, so that this concept of destruction. So ironically, one day I was saying to a client, geez, I see that you're going to be off, I guess it was in a January, in her chart, and I said, oh, I see you're not going to be working during this time. And she said, oh, no, I'm not, she said, not that she was taking off, but that they were actually renovating her building. So there's a really good example of Shiva. Okay. It also is it's also associated with noise, particularly people who maybe don't like noise. Okay. So that's another, another way to use another aspect of it. So in any event, as I said, Pluto is the glyph, but it's Pluto with arms, if you will, or fingers or hands. In the case of Shiva, when you're looking down on the paper, the right side will have two hands going up and one hand kind of half circled to the down on the left side. In the case of Shiva, they would be one hand on either side. Again, the right up, the left down. So again, it is a lot about that Pluto energy, except for now we can really, give even Pluto a little bit more detail through the energy of Shiva. Anyway, I'm glad that you were here. I hope that I've been informative, and I hope that you'll continue watching these short clips. And more importantly, I hope that you're getting excited about what you can get from these, and that you are interested enough to pursue the study of asteroids as a way to make your work more detailed. Next week, I'll bring you another 8. Thank you, and have a great day.